Awesome. Welcome to Contractors Mastermind 2020 edition. My name is Gene Butterfield. We got Mr. Pete, is it Balo on the line?
Balaglu.
Oh, I butchered that. Welcome, man. I probably should have asked you before the call how to pronounce that one. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's why everybody calls me Paver Pete, right?
Hey, there we go. We got Mr. Paver Pete on the line. So real quick, Pete, tell us a little bit, kind of jump right in here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your business or the company that you work for, a little bit about your story, how long you've been in the industry, what industry you're in, and kind of just tell us who you are.
Okay. Everybody calls me Paver Pete. Graduated from college after doing some landscape contracting, hardscaping to pay my way through and to keep busy and out of trouble. Graduated from University of Maryland with a degree in accounting. Went back into contracting for a short time and got picked up by a paving stone manufacturer out of Baltimore, Maryland. They got acquired by a bigger company. I was with them for 10 years. I was a local sales rep, helping contractors and dealers succeed, the kind of channel distribution model. Moved up to national trainer with them, left working with them, got back into contracting with a friend from college who had a horticulture degree, and I have an accounting degree, put us together, and we're pretty good 1-2 punch. That's when I met the owner of Block, paving stone manufacturer, retaining wall block manufacturer. And we had a great meeting and decided to get back into selling and marketing and helping contractors and dealers succeed. Did that for a couple of years. We started what's called a Block Contractor Showcase event, traveling road show. So I became the spokesperson for that event. And eventually the director of education for Block. So my job is to help our representatives be better consultants. My job is to help our contracting community be better at estimating, marketing, selling, and installation of hardscape products, and to help our dealer network, our distribution network, do the same. They want to be consultants, and I've got lots of information, and we have lots of information. We share with the distributors, they share it with the contractors when we can't be there. And in the end, the consumer, the homeowner or the owner of the property gets the best quality project and the best quality products, best value.
So are these almost like partnerships that you have with different contractors? And you mentioned that you were a coach, that you work with how are you seeing things? Well, we'll get to that. Okay, I'm just, I've never heard of kind of like a coach in that regard. That's kind of cool that Block has done that. And you'll have to forgive me, when I first created the calendar event, you didn't get it because I put Techno Block. added an edit there. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's what we wanted to call the company. And this is a 30-year-old company. I've been in the business just over 25 years, but Block was started 30 years ago by a family in Montreal, Italian family in Montreal, Canada. And they wanted to call it Techno Block, as in technology block. Right. It's one of the things that we're very proud of is innovation. And a lot of people say innovation, they think products. And we're very innovative when it comes to products, but we're also innovative when it comes to systems. An example would be the role that I play as director of education or sales coach, helping people as an overhead within our company to help our partners, the word you used earlier, but it's bigger than that. We see everybody as a partner. We see our vendors, the manufacturers of GeoGrid and the manufacturers of adhesives and cleaners and sealers and edge restraints, these ancillary products to a pavement or a retaining wall. We see them as a partner, and we want to help them be better and push them to be better, and they push us to be better. Right. The same with our dealer network, the same with the contracting community. Yes, we help them, and that's our objective, but they help us so much too by giving us great feedback, great data that helps us create better systems and better processes and better products. So it is a partnership. It all comes back around, a cycle.
Well, one thing, I mean, with different, I mean, I see the contractors that are succeeding today have somewhat of a system of operation. You know, how many jobs that they go on, do the estimate, and there's no follow-up on the back end, you know, and just different regards like that. It's sales is so much more than it's interesting. I'd be curious to hear more about what that looks like, unless you have to pay for that. I don't know what that looks like, but we'll get to that.
If you're going to give me a credit card number, I'll take it. I have a Jeep Habit that's pretty expensive. But if you look at what we call the big four at Teco, helping the contractors succeed with the big four, and our dealer network, the distributor network, is doing the same thing. Number one is estimating, job costing, overhead recovery, and profit. That's a profession for someone. Somebody does that for a living. Then we look at number two, which is marketing. You know, whether we talk about traditional or digital marketing and the percentages of each, and writing a marketing plan, writing a tracking mechanism, all the things that go into marketing. That's a profession for someone. Right. Sales. I consider myself a professional salesperson. There's people that call themselves salespeople. I don't think that they are. I don't think they understand the process or the cycle. But again, that's a profession for someone. And then we get into the installation and we say interlocking pavement, hybrid installation of interlocking pavement, very popular to talk about. Segmental permeable pavements, segmental retaining walls, raised patios, step construction, curbing, coping on pools. All these different installation processes and cycles are, again, a profession for someone. Then we look at your traditional landscape, hardscape contractor and say, these are the four things you need to do, and you need to be an expert at each of them. And all of a sudden it becomes an, oh shit, son.
Right.
That's a lot to absorb and to be great at.
Yeah. What would almost be those first steps for some of these guys? Or is there a qualification of who you start working with as a coach? Is there a team that needs to be developed, or do you start with the one man and then help them grow up? Or is it just kind of depending on who you're working with too?
Right. Well, at Teco Block, for example, we have a knowledge-based platform, a website that's there to help contractors navigate through it, to start the learning process. We have an education platform, education.teco-block.com. So you can go there and take 101 courses, 102 courses, 201 courses, 202 courses, and all the way up to, the mastery level, where we're getting into great detail about installing a foam backer rod and an elastomeric joint sealer between your pool deck and your coping, and more advanced topics for an installation. There's books that can be read from any one of those subjects. I'm a big reader. I'm one of those people that reads 50 plus books a year. I love it. I've got books all around me. I'm reading 3 or 4 books at a time. But, we take a page out of Abraham Lincoln's book, where he was constantly carrying one around. He was constantly found in the woods, sitting under a tree, reading and rereading books. So there's great technical books on estimating. There's great books on marketing. There's great books on sales. There's great books on installation that can help you generate the questions you need to challenge people like myself and say, Paver Pete, you're an expert in raised patio construction, but I just read this and I'm challenging you with that way of thinking. And I go, I got a big smile on my face and go, that's great. Here's why I disagree with that statement. And here's what I would do. Let me show you this cross section, this plan view, and let's go through the physics of how the aggregates react in the environment under repetitive pedestrian or vehicular traffic load. And then we have that debate. And from it comes, I get better, the contractor gets better, our distributor gets better, and that's where we win. So it's online, it's books, it's interacting with peers and with professionals in the industry to improve.
Well, I've even heard some of the statements said of the disservice of not knowing certain things on your end, or not being able to articulate that to the end consumer, of why you're better. If you are better, the disservice of not articulating that correctly in a correct process or format, and or even understanding. And it's like the key word that comes to my mind is attention to detail, and understanding just the little moving parts of all the different variables that go into play with some of the stuff you're talking about. So,
Yeah, I think there's some misinformation on sitting at a kitchen table and being able to articulate the value, which is a very personal word. Value is what's relevant to that consumer you're sitting in front of. But to articulate that to them and for them to understand what they're paying for usually means more money, but it doesn't have to be. You could be the most efficient contractor in whatever it is that you're building, be less expensive than someone else, and look cheaper. You may be more expensive than someone else, and you need to explain that, why you're up, why you're higher, or why you're lower. Let's take example, hybrid installation of interlock and pavement using open graded stone, open graded bedding layer, and a sand fill joint on what would be a traditional installation. But you're cutting your compactive effort, the mechanically increasing weight per unit volume of a vibratory or rammer-based compactor. You're taking that out of the equation by using open graded stone, which requires little to no compactive effort. You can save 10, 15, 20% on just that one component of the installation, which may make you less expensive. The homeowner sees your price, compares it to someone else's, and says, you're 10% less. Now defend that, which seems like a weird statement to make, but it's not. You have to explain, I'm less expensive because I'm more efficient. I'm using systems and processes that are better for this application, and that's why my price is reflected. I'm giving you a great value, giving you a great product. Right. You'll be happy many years from now.
Rather than the automatic, like, oh, this is cheaper, so it must not be as good.
Yes. Yeah. And we want sitting at a kitchen table in the educate and inform phase of the sales cycle, because selling is a cycle. We want to follow certain steps to make sure that we get there. And we're in that educate and inform phase. And again, we want to speak to the relevance of that couple sitting at a kitchen table, or the owner of the building, or whoever it is. What is relevant to them? And if they want to know the details of the cross section of the pavement or the retaining wall or whatever it is that we're building, we got to be able to articulate that, with a drawing, going through step by step and saying, this is why you're paying me to build this correctly. I'm going to excavate this retaining wall following the angle of repose, or the fee angle of the soil. I'm going to follow OSHA's bench cut requirements for safety. That's going to give me room for the 3-foot column of clean stone, which sounds like it's going to cost more than the 1 foot minimum, but it's actually going to cost you less. And they go, wow, okay, why are we doing that? Well, it's ease of compaction, it's filtration qualities, and lastly, it's drainage qualities. And then we go through a little explanation on each one, and they go, so your price is the same as, or slightly less than, or slightly more than so-and-so, but I understand what I'm paying for. The value makes sense to me, so I get it. So that, understanding relevance to whom you're talking to, right? Our objective is to help them learn it, not to teach them or lecture to them. Make sure that they learn it. And then they say, wait a minute, that makes sense to me. I'm willing to pay for that. I'm willing to take my weeks and months and years of hard work and savings and give it to you to build this for me.
Right. What made you want to get started in this business when you first got started, or even what keeps you going?
Well, a lot of young people will start, cutting grass or laying, there was just clay brick pavers at the time, not an inferior product, but less advantageous than interlocking concrete pavements. But I laid a lot of them as a kid, and I did it because I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get a degree, and I ended up getting a degree in accounting. and figured out working for a bank that I hated it. I hated being inside. I hated the fact that I knew when I was driving from one branch to another or from a client to a client that was the only time I would see the sun that day until I got off work and got to go home. And I said, this is not for me. And my passion, which I define as enthusiasm over time, is not in that. I liked helping people. I liked making things clear so they could understand them and make a good financial decision. But the inside, the lack of anything physical at all was killing me. I had to get out. I met a friend who said that they were hiring salespeople at a paving stone company in Baltimore, Maryland, and said, do you want to come on board? And I said, it sounds interesting. Tell me about the products. And I remember from college, I had a professor in marketing who said, no matter what you're going to do, if you're going to sell things when you graduate, make sure you're selling the best product. And interlocking pavements, segmental retaining walls are the best product in world's history, dating back 7,000 years to the Minoans, to the Romans, to the Egyptians. These systems, to the Great Wall of China, the Chinese, these systems of tightly fitted block units with geogrid or geofabrics or go back so many years, and they are performing like the Appian roads in Rome still to this day. They are safely ambulated or walked on or driven on to this day. So when I found out really what interlocking pavement was, what segmental retaining walls were, I'm like, this can't be very hard to sell. It's the best product in world's history. And it can be difficult to explain to people. I won't say it's easy to sell, but there is an ease because there's so much history. There's so much knowledge. There's so much misinformation that can be overcome and good information brought to light. I find it exciting, and I get to help me. The contracting community is me. I'm them. We're into cars and trucks and motorcycles and drinking a can of beer and the dealer network. When I go hang out at the counter at a dealer and I'm having a conversation and educating and informing someone behind a counter, they're talking to me about, going to the gun range and shooting. And I'm like, yeah, I like that too. Or hunting or fishing, I like that too. Or, just hiking in the woods, I like that too. It's not hard to have empathy.
Yeah.
For, and they and I are the same.
So what's been, you've kind of shared on this, but what are some of the toughest challenges, toughest things you had to overcome? And let me know how much time you got, because I don't want to run over. I think it's a great conversation. If you want me to cut it short, it usually goes 15, 20, 30 minutes. We might go a little over that if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the hardest thing to understand when you move from a sales role or a marketing role or an admin role within this industry into an education role is that teaching people is not the objective. Them learning is the objective. So I write PowerPoints. Some of them are 600 slides. Some of them are 150 slides, whatever the slide number is or the count is. And I've gotten very good at, maybe not graphically, you might look at them and say, these aren't as attractive as I would imagine a company like TechnoBlock would create, but they're geared towards helping people learn. So there's not a lot of information on every slide. Yeah. But the information that's on there can be absorbed. It's in a way that I can understand it and I can help someone else understand it. So if I go into one of our dealers, I'm invited in to teach a class on how to build a soil stabilized segmental retaining wall. And that slide presentation is 350 slides. I'm going to be speaking for 2.5 to 4 hours, whatever it might be. And I only get 150 of those slides done, but everyone has learned them. I'm happy. I used to muscle through the 300 and something slides, and whether they were getting it or not, man, I got done. And that's not the philosophy at TechnoBlock. We want to help people not drink from a fire hose, but to absorb that information, know that these, there might be 30 steps in the construction of a segmental retaining wall or a permeable pavement. We may only get through 10 today, but you're going to get those 10. We're going to have a very clear understanding of those 10. Right. And if you have questions, we're going to stop. We're going to answer them. We're going to go through them. We're going to debate them. We're going to have arguments about them, which I think is fun. Not a net arguing sounds negative. It's a positive. And we're going to come to, okay, I learned it historically this way from somebody I used to work for. Okay, that's great. Let's talk about how you did that. I pride myself on being an extreme listener. So I'm listening, taking notes, writing down what they told me, and then going and addressing each one of those bullet points at a time until there's that light that comes on and goes, oh, wow, yeah, you're right. I have seen, staining in walls where you see white stains or organic stains coming through the face of the wall. So if I put a 3-foot column of clean stone behind the wall, that will help osmosis, water following the course of least resistance, get to the pipe and be exfiltrated or exited out the face or to a subterranean drainage structure. Versus allowing that water to get to the back of the block through the voids between the blocks, carrying with it minerals and salts and organics and fines, what we call total suspended solids, and staining the wall. So yeah, I get it. More clean stone means ease of compaction, ease of filtration, and ease of drainage to our pipe, not through the face of the wall. So we slow down when the question comes up, make sure we're addressing the correct question, and then moving on. That's the fun part of it. And that was, it took me years. I've been over 25 years in the industry. It takes a while to understand that finishing the seminar isn't as important as your audience understanding
right
where you are.
Right. So leading up to this point, what do you think? Let's talk about 2020. Let's talk about stuff going on with COVID. Let's talk, some of this might be speculation on your part. What are some of the toughest things you're seeing for contractors right now, or different, landscaping and hardscaping professionals right now? Is there any trouble? I know I've talked to some guys and they're still booked out. People are still just trying to find stuff to do. Has there been any shift in the guys that you're working with? How are they overcoming some of these different challenges? It's obviously a trend, so it's a talking point.
Right.
Right. What is that looking like? What are some of those challenges that we're having to overcome with, a lot of it is, you talked about that innovation. A lot of the contractors that have started taking initiative about different innovations like internet and technology, and some of these different facets are continuing to grow, but some are not. And I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are on some of that.
Well, I go back to TechnoBlock's big four. Number one, estimating, job costing, overhead recovery, and profit. You got to know your numbers, and part of knowing your numbers in your overhead recovery is what a lot of accountants will call labor burden. I call it labor responsibility, which is making sure that you have the proper funds in your bid to recruit, retain, retrain a team.
Right.
Because you need people.
Yeah. Labor.
Period. To get people, not necessarily labor, some foremen, some leadmen, some salespeople, some marketing people, some admin people. I mean, you need lots of people. So we have to have a budget so that we can compete in the marketplace for the best people. Right. You can't recruit great people if you don't have vacation time, if you don't have sick time, if you don't have personal time, if you don't offer some benefits like disability pay and life insurance. And there's lots of facets. Training is another great example. If you're not budgeting money to set aside time, because money and time very the same thing, to get your team trained, well, they'll go somewhere else where there is training. They'll go somewhere else where they can improve. They'll go somewhere else where they can get the training so they can make more money, right? They want that. So, but you got a budget for it. So it starts there, and then you start looking at, you know, equipment and automation. It's disheartening when I see contractors pushing wheelbarrows. I mean, wheelbarrows should be a thing of the past. It should be a meme where somebody puts a funny picture in a little balloon off to the side. There are mechanical wheelbarrows out on the market. I use one from Bartel Global that's tracked, so it doesn't tear up the yard. It's mechanical. It moves material onto and through the job more quickly than any individual could consistently for an 8-hour workday. And it's very efficient, so it doesn't impact the environment negatively. We need to automate. We need to buy micro excavation equipment. JCB has some great micro equipment, some of which is electric. The Tesla of excavation equipment, micro skid steers, micro excavators, not many, micro, so that we can have great people, but don't beat them up. And all this comes in the math. We need to have that math, the accounting, so that we can budget to buy these things with big down payments, to have low payments or no payments, and so that we can take care of great people and retain and retrain great people. Number 2 is marketing. If you don't have a digital marketing team on staff and you are 100% dependent on yourself, you're not winning, because you got to have a full funnel of the right people. And the only way to do that is with a mix of traditional but heavier digital. I say 80-20, 20% traditional, 80% digital. And you need to have engaging content and micro content that is engaging to your audience. And they go, that's the company I want. That's the image and brand I want in my yard, in my side yard, in my driveway. I'm writing a PowerPoint now on heated pavement. And that's something that is a great value add that you need to be marketing. If you're in the snow belt, I live in Cleveland, Ohio, we get 8 or 10 feet of snow a year. And I have a heated front stoop, step, and walkway. And I would never live without it again. It is great to have the option of just hitting a switch or automatically cutting on. Those are things that need to be marketed to an audience so that they can say, yeah, you know what? I did want a walkway. Now I'm sure I want a walkway because I never want to shovel snow again. And then get into sales where, you know, there's so many great options. A great option in sales is wood-fired ovens. People call them pizza ovens. I hate that, because wood-fired ovens, which are these ovens that people typically cook pizza in, make for great cast iron cooking. And cast iron cooking is healthier for you. When you're cooking something at 800, 900, 1,000 degrees, it caramelizes what you're cooking, whether it be vegetables or fish or chicken or steak or whatever it is that you're cooking, and it seals in the flavor and it burns off a lot of the fats. So that's healthier for you. Why aren't we as salespeople sitting at a kitchen table saying, you need a griddle, you need a grill, and you need a wood-fired oven? You will be happier. Your family will be happier. It'll be fun to get one of those big, beautiful cast iron lodge pans and throw it into a 1,000-degree oven with a steak on it and watch it cook, you know, in a minute and a half per side. And just how much fun is that to do with your family? And then finally, you know, we need to be able to do it. We need systems and processes to build the base to a wood-fired oven. At Techo Block, we have what's called a contractor support manual, step-by-step, layer-by-layer instructions for fire pits, elevated water features like from aquascapes with aqua basins and stacked stone urns. Awesome, love them. Great sound, great light, great motion in the landscape. Wood-fired ovens, grill islands. So yes, we're a pavement company. Yes, we build retaining walls, but there's a lot more fun stuff to it. We just got to know how to build it efficiently, give the consumer the best value, give them something to do in their landscape. How about it?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So for you personally, we have 2 more questions here. So this one's kind of loaded. So maybe 3 more questions. But what are some goals, like next 6 months? What are benchmark goals for you? And, you have your kind of business within Technoblock, it sounds like. You have your own systems and your own things that you're doing. What are some goals for you over the next 6 year, 1 to 5? What is that looking like?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
and
At Technoblock, we have a definite entrepreneurial spirit within each of the branches: finance and admin and sales, and the education department's a great example of that. So yes, I feel like, with mentorship, I'm kind of running my own little entree leadership, to quote Dave Ramsey, little my own little business within a business here. Our goals are challenging because meeting face to face is more difficult now. It's starting to open up a little bit with the virus, but it's going to be difficult. And the venues that we host can have, 1,000 people, 500, 250 people. A small audience for us is 100 people. So that's not going to be a part of the near future. So modifying our presentations so that, things that I would normally pause and draw up on the board and have a handout and put my hands together and show everybody the kind of aggregate I'm talking about. I can't do that the same way I used to do it, where I'm running around the room and yelling and screaming and occasionally saying a bad word and laughing and having fun. And it's a little more different when you're on a camera on a laptop or on a cell phone or something. So we're modifying our presentations. We're launching what's going to be the best of the best education platform with a course where you can start at 101 if you're at 101, or you can start at 201 or 301 or whatever level you're at. We don't want to start everybody at the bottom when you're not at the bottom. That can be frustrating. But so launching that platform, modifying our presentation so that the things that we would normally do on a face-to-face basis and have fun with, we're going to have to do that on a laptop now. We're going to have to do that in a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or a crowdsource meeting or whatever the platform is. So we have to modify those things. And we've been working very diligently to make sure that what we feel is inspiring, what we feel is fun and entertaining, bringing you education in those 3 ways, bringing you learning in those 3 ways, continues at Technoblock. We don't want it to be, sitting in front of it and watching a PowerPoint and you're okay, I can multitask now, or I can check my social media sites now, or we want it to be like, wait, I can't miss this. let me pause it because I do have to go to the bathroom or whatever the case might be, and I need a cup of coffee or whatever the case might be. We want to make it inspirational, educational, and entertaining at the same time. So that's going to be our challenge for the next 6 months, a year.
I wonder if you need to even look at kind of creating that boot camp online, kind of like these information products that are out there these days. But it's different with you, obviously, and maybe have like webinars every week to like catch up on the newest stuff and innovations and different. Just kind of brainstorming, almost wanting to think with you there. It's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
The leverageability that it's forcing you into is kind of cool though, for like what you're doing in itself, but also I think it's cool that you're very focused on delivering what you say you're going to deliver, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's empathy, right?
Right.
Seeing with their eyes, hearing with their ears, understanding. It took me many years to get used to, as our showcases grew, speaking from a stage.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird, but I like to be on the ground. I like walking up and down the aisles. I like, interacting and touching people, and them, interacting and messing around with me and giving me a hard time. That interaction is fun and engaging, and I don't want anyone to feel, oh, look at that guy up on stage. He's not one of us. Oh yeah, I'm one of you. We're the same. And now, not only am I not on the stage, but I'm on the other side of a laptop, maybe the other side of the country, maybe in a different country. We do a lot of business in Canada as well. So I want to make sure that people understand that Technoblock loves them, wants them to achieve, wants them to win, wants them to be inspired and motivated to overcome those big four things that we mentioned. And we have lots of programs. Some of them are interactive. Some of them have quizzes to make sure that you're getting that information. But we never want you to lose track of the fact that it's got to be fun and entertaining at the same time.
All right, last one. We got to wrap it up here. And this is my favorite one. It can go many different ways. You'll be surprised. Any advice, thoughts, rude remarks, anything you want to share for anybody who may be listening to this in the future?
Okay. There's just life. There's no work and there's no home. There's just life. It's just one thing. So make sure that you take care of your business, but make sure you take care of your family and your life too. Make sure that you're a great husband or wife. Make sure that you're a great father or mother or mentor to somebody in your community. Make sure that all the things that you focus on, the big four, like we talked about in your business, that you're applying them to your own life as well. And you're giving them that equal percentage of time, including you, if your hobby is shooting, that you go to the range, whether it be archery or handguns or rifles or whatever that might be. Go to the range, schedule that time. Right. If you're into, I talked to a contractor the other day in Delaware who said his hobby is off-road motorcycles. And I said, that's great. What do you have? He goes, I don't. I'm like, I'm going to kill you. You need that. He goes, I am budgeting money and I am going to have one by September. And I said, that's the right. So that way, and then once you have it, you can schedule the time to go to those tracks or go to those trails. It may be mountain bike. It might be, motorized motorcycling, whatever it might be. You gotta take that time to hike, to bike, to fish, to hunt, to play golf, to play soccer, whatever it is that your hobby is. Don't lose track of that. We just have one life, and that work and family and yourself has to be a balance, because otherwise you'll find 5 or 10, or in my case, 25 years have gone by, and you want to make sure that your teammates